So you're getting married, planning a reception, and you're trying to figure out what are the most important things when it comes to your wedding day. What are the most important things when it comes to your reception? Well, don't worry, I've got you covered right after this.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And I have the absolute pleasure to be your host this evening.
What's going on? My name is Durgi Spade, aka MC Spade. I'm also known as Magic MC, and you can find me over at Instagram at Magic MC Live. That's because I happen to be a professional magician and a professional wedding MC. I've hosted hundreds of weddings over the years, and in my downtime, I like to make YouTube videos to give you hints, tips, tricks, and even checklists that you can use when it comes to wedding planning. By the way, I also created this free ebook of mistakes to avoid when you're planning your wedding. If you want it, absolutely for free. You can grab it over at weddingchecklistnow.com. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the things that matter the most when it comes to your wedding reception. In this video, I'm going to share with you my top 3 items you need to make priority when it comes to your wedding reception. All right, the first thing we are going to put the focus on and shine the spotlight on, quite frankly, is food and drinks. Now, hear me out. You're going to have music probably at your wedding. You're going to have food and drinks at your wedding. There's going to be, certain things that certain people will appreciate. But with all of that aside, the one thing that everyone's going to have in common? It's that they're going to eat. That's right. Every single person, regardless of their preferences for the evening, is gonna eat. And so what that means for you is one of the most memorable things from weddings is the food and the drinks. So this is something you're not going to want to cheap out on, and at the same time, give your guests appropriate options. Now, food can be served in so many different ways. As I said, I've hosted hundreds of weddings over the years, and I've seen it served in different ways, in different manners. So let's talk about a few different ones. The most classic and elegant way, of course, is just served seating. It's either a 3-course or a 4-course or a 5-course meal. That might depend on, your cultural background, the types of food you eat, but oftentimes ends with a dessert. This is a plated dinner, of course, and each person gets their individual dinner. They will often have options, which is filled out by the attendee before the wedding actually happens. So they'll get some sort of card where they can decide what kind of meal they would like. And typical examples we see all the time is fish or chicken or beef, or a vegetarian option as an example. And then the person attending would fill it out for themselves or perhaps their family, if the entire family is attending, and then they would send it to the couple getting married, who would then pass it on to the venue. Another method of having dinner served is a buffet style. Again, we see this oftentimes, and it changes the dynamics of the reception a little bit, but an entire buffet style dinner is served depending on how many people you have at the wedding. They might have 1 or 2 separate buffets served so that people can get served a little bit more quickly. And again, that allows for a lot more food options, and it's also usually a bit cheaper than going the plated dinner route. The third style of dinner being served we'll talk about today is called family style dinner. And this can also kind of has variations, but a family style dinner can be done in a way where you come to your table where you're going to sit, and all the food is already served on each table at the center of the table, and all of it is there. So it's like a mini buffet, but at each individual table, and each person can either serve themselves and pass the main dish around, or sometimes at a family style dinner, actual server will come and help serve the food on each individual plates as well. So different ways of serving the dinner. Now, we talked about the different styles, but again, you're gonna also want to consider the type of food you're serving, the quality of the food. Again, different cultures have different types of foods that they will often serve, but at the end of the day, don't cheap out on the food. Again, that is the one thing that all of your guests will have in common, because they will all be eating, and that's something that you want them to remember with a positive memory. Hand in hand with food, of course, we need to talk about drinks. Now, different venues have different approaches to this as well. There's some fancier, I guess I would say, venues here in the Toronto area where I host most of my weddings. And, these venues might charge an extra 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks per person that is attending for alcohol. So that is not a small number to, blanket. That's if you're having a 100-person wedding or a 300-person wedding, those numbers are going to add up quickly. Oftentimes at these type of venues, $40 might get you the cheaper type of liquor, whereas, if you're paying 60 or 70 bucks per head, that's going to get you the top shelf liquor. The challenge I find, of course, when we're talking about the quality of the drinks and also the cost at this type of venue is, of course, how the payment is structured, right? They might be charging you, let's just say for argument's sake, $50 per person for drinks. Now, the truth is, if you have 100 people attending, not all of those 100 people are going to drink, but you're still going to pay $50 a person for alcohol. And now, even if everyone drank, you need to think about, is each person going to be drinking $50 worth of alcohol? On average, the answer is, quite frankly, no. This is how the venues often make their money. So this is going to be something you want to consider when you're actually booking your venue. And then if you've fallen in love with a venue and they don't have any other options, you're going to want to ask them about if they can provide you with other options. Maybe you want the best liquor, but you want it done on a tab basis. So you'll pay for it all, but based on individual drinks, and they'll just charge you per drink. So check with the venue what options they've got for you. At the end of the day, the number one thing that you should really focus on for your reception is, of course, the food and the drinks. Again, that is the one thing that everyone really will have in common. The second thing I want you to think about is good music and good entertainment. Of course, when the dinner is done, when people have had their food, they've had their drinks, guess what? It's time to dance, or it's time to party, or it's time to enjoy some entertainment. And that is something your guests will enjoy as a group. And this can be a little bit tricky. With music, everyone has a different style of music that they prefer. So, you could satisfy 80% of your audience as an example, because maybe 80% of people like the same type of music, but there might still be 20% that just hate that specific type of music, they enjoy something else. And so for that 20% of people, it just might not be as great of a night as it might have been if they heard their style of music. So again, this is where it does become a challenge. One thing you're going to want to consider is getting a DJ that can play a variety of music. If you've got a lot of people in attendance that are from, different backgrounds or enjoy different types of music, and especially for couples that are getting married where, spouse one and spouse two perhaps are of different backgrounds. And there's a good chance each family might have a different taste in music as well. So again, you're going to probably want to find a DJ who could cater to both. That's easier said than done. So go ahead, do your homework, because that's something, again, you don't want to fail on. Entertainment's another big one. I've lumped this in with music. Sometimes at weddings during the actual reception, there is entertainment of some sort that's offered. Sometimes this is traditional entertainment, depending on the background of the couple getting married. Other times it's a little bit more generic entertainment. What I mean by that is, it's something that can be enjoyed by all people. For example, for a long time, I used to offer a small magic show I would do at weddings. Now, I don't do that anymore as much. I've shifted a little bit more to offering specific wedding MC services. I think it's a little bit more powerful, at least in the way that I do it. But again, with a magic show, it can be enjoyed by anybody from all cultural backgrounds. But again, that's going to be often a main point during the reception that your guests will remember. All right, the last thing to really focus on. Now, this one was a little bit tricky, but the third thing I want to talk about, I've kind of called it, put it under one generic title of ambience. And the thing with ambience or ambience is that it could incorporate many different things. Well, one of them, of course, is the decor. So when your guests walk into your venue for the first time, how do they feel when they look around? What does the decor look like? What do the individual centerpieces look like? Is there decor on the walls? Is there specific lighting that's being displayed? Again, that's going to be part of the total ambiance. Is there a stage that's been set up? Where is the couple going to sit? What about the backdrop on the stage? Is there nice flowers or candles or something nice to look at? This is all part of the ambiance. You want your guests so that when they walk in, they feel like they're walking into a nice, welcoming environment where they're going to enjoy their night. Ambience can also include music. Now, we talked about music already in tip number 2, but again, background music is also part of the ambiance. So, once your guests walk in, how do they feel with music around them? Also, what about, transitional music? So music in between speeches, music in between different bits throughout the night. These are things you're going to want to talk to your DJ about to make sure that you nail them. Speaking of music and ambiance, another good idea for you to consider is what about getting, a live musician to play? And I'm not talking about a wedding band. That can also happen, and that's a topic for another video. But what I'm talking about is maybe a short set, a 10-minute or a 15-minute set from a talented musician. I've done weddings where I've seen incredible talented artists come on and do a spotlight feature. That might be an electric violinist, and again, I've seen a few that have absolutely killed it. It could be a flautist, that's someone that plays the flute. Again, there are some really talented people out there, but what about some sort of main feature that's going to go at some point throughout your reception that's going to add to the ambiance of your evening? Another thing that could count towards the ambiance is meeting the bride or groom. So a lot of the times, I've seen weddings, and especially with larger weddings, the bride and groom might not have time to go and say hello to each and every individual person. But for a lot of people, this is very important. They want to feel like they've been welcomed or greeted, or at least have had 30 seconds to speak to the couple getting married. So when can you have the meet and greet with the couple? There's a couple of spots actually. One, you could have a receiving line at your reception. Now, this is common with specific types of weddings where you might have the bride and groom, let's say, along with their entire families that have lined up at the reception hall. So as your guests are arriving, they come and say hello to the families in kind of like a line, and the family actually welcomes them, including the couple that's been married. So that's one opportunity for you to do it. Another time you could have the couple say hello and meet and greet with everyone is during the actual dinner. Now, this does take away time from the couple from being able to enjoy their dinner. But let's face it, when you're having your wedding reception, there's a good chance you may not have any time to eat dinner because there's so much going on, or you might have 5 minutes to gobble things down. That's about it. Let's face it, when it's your wedding, you're going to be just focused on so many other things. But if meeting and greeting your guests is important to you, this might be one good time to do it. So during dinner, as your guests are eating, the couple can actually get up and then slowly work the tables around the reception hall and, say hi to each individual table and go up to them one at a time. You might decide to spend, 30 seconds at each table. You might decide to spend 2 minutes at each table. It really depends on how many guests you have and how much time you have to fit in your meet and greet. But again, this is one of those sleeper points. I don't want you to sleep on it. I really want you to dig in and think about how you can say hello to each and every one of your guests. Believe me, your guests will love you for it. It's something that doesn't cost any money, and it just makes things a little bit nicer for your guests, and it is part of the overall ambience of the evening. Well, there you have it. Those are 3 things you can focus on to make your reception just a little bit better, so your guests will absolutely love it and walk away from it feeling like they've attended a world-class wedding reception. Friends, again, if we've never met before, please consider hitting the subscribe and like button so I can keep giving you more value like these videos for absolutely free. Again, if you want to check out the free ebook of mistakes to avoid when planning your wedding, check it out over at weddingchecklistnow.com. I'll see you in the next video.